Draft nerds, welcome in. I'm very, very excited for this show. Today we are talking about underrated wide receiver prospects in the 2025 NFL Draft. Assuming all these guys come out, we're still kind of in this bubble period where we're waiting to get all these declarations and all that good stuff. But look, there are a number of underrated wide receiver prospects in this draft class. You look at this class, a lot of folks say it's a down year at wide receiver, which a down year at wide receiver as compared to other positions is still very deep because of the general depth that there has been in these wide receiver classes over the last several years. And people also say it's like down at the top. Would I say that this wide receiver class lacks a little bit of the talent that last year's did at the very top? I would definitely say last year's was better, right? Like Marvin Harrison Jr., Romo Dunze, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., right? It was a special group at the top, and a very deep class. I think that this class, Tedero McMillan, Luther Burden, Travis Hunter, if you're playing him at wide, Emeka Ibuka, that's a good bunch of guys at the top. Like, that is nothing to shake a stick at. I think people got a little bit spoiled last year. But I think there's really underrated wide receivers too here in this class that I'm excited to talk about. Every one of these guys we're looking at here is around 100 or lower on the consensus big board, which this is from NFL Mock Draft Database, and they combine all the big boards of all the biggest draft sites. I think they have like 60 plus sites that contribute, that they get numbers from for this thing. Or 60 plus analysts, etc. There's a lot that goes into their consensus big board. And so we're going to dive into these prospects at wide receiver that I think are just really undervalued, underrated by the general draft media. Okay. I'm excited to get into it. If you enjoy the content here, it is all draft all the time. Please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know in the comment section who you think is underrated at the wide receiver position. Without further ado, my first prospect, and we're just going to go in order on the big board here from top to bottom. 96 on the big board is Tez Johnson. Look, is he going to be primarily a slot receiver? Yes, absolutely. Is he very, very, very undersized? Absolutely. 5'10", buck 65. The defining trait for him is his ability to separate at all three levels. He is fat. He's not just quick, which he is incredibly quick and twitchy and creates separation with that agility, but he's also very fast. He can fly. And you look at all the other things that I look at for a slot receiver. No, he's not going to be the most physical slot receiver, but running routes from the slot, it is difficult to press guys in the slot. His ability to run two-way goes, deep overs, crossers, whip route, like, he is just going to be really difficult to guard, especially if he goes to a team that knows how to run a modern offense, that knows how to get him in motion and create leverage advantages. Tez Johnson has the ability to be one of the most dynamic slot receivers in the NFL. He absolutely does. And he plays bigger than he is. Sometimes it's a little scary, but he brings it. He's not shying away from contact a lot, and usually he's able to make guys miss in space. He's dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's dynamic before he gets the ball. He is great at the catch point. He doesn't have a lot of contested catch situations, but he does a good job in those situations, and he doesn't drop easy ones. Like, he has reliable, focused hands. To me, Tez Johnson, I have a second round grade on him, and he's 96 on the consensus big board. That means he's like fringe day 2. I don't see that at all. In this modern NFL, if he gets with the right offensive play caller, offensive play designer, Tez Johnson is going to be a dynamic threat immediately in his NFL career. Fired up for him. 98 on the big board, only 2 spots later, is wide receiver Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. Again, 98 is fringe day 2. I have a second round grade on Jaden Higgins. He is 6'4". He is 215 pounds. If you've watched the channel, you've heard me talk about him. I don't get it. I don't get why there isn't more hype on Jaden Higgins, who, again, at 6'4" and 215 pounds, elite at the catch point. I don't have a problem saying that. With his size, strength, body control, explosiveness, and extremely strong hands, he is elite at the catch point. That's great. There's been a lot of guys that have come out that have been elite at the catch point or really good at the catch point that struggle. What makes me so encouraged about Jaden Higgins, at his size, he releases off the line well, but his ability to run crisp routes at 6'4", 215 is uncommon at worst, rare at best. He understands leverage. He can plant his foot in the ground and go in the other direction at his size. He understands how to utilize his strength, his physicality, by using his body to lean right before a break, get a defender off balance, to use these elbows. He doesn't often extend the arms, which is where you could potentially get called for offensive pass interference. But using the elbows, using the forearm, using the body to create separation right before he makes a cut. And you see him running in breakers, you see him running out breaking routes, you see him winning down the field vertically. I think Jaden Higgins should be a very good number 2 receiver in the NFL. Really excited about him. Maybe even a 1, but definitely a really good 2. At 104 on the big board is Tory Horton out of Colorado State. I think he should be a 3rd-round pick. 104 would suggest he should go in the 4th round. I think he should be a 3rd-round pick. He's 6'3", 185 pounds. He's got great length. And, despite being, fairly slim, not the most physically imposing guy from a strength standpoint, he is a pro route runner. He is able to use not so subtle head fakes, shoulder shimmy, footwork to create separation all over the field. Once he gets the ball in his hands, he's really good at making the first defender miss with that agility. He's got a huge catch radius, very, very competitive at the catch point, does not drop easy ones. I think that he's probably going to, at worst, be a really good 3rd target in a passing offense. I think at best he could be a number 2, a really good number 2. And so I'm fired up about Tory Horton and the length he provides with his route running prowess. He looks like a pro. He plays like a pro already. And again, you get him the ball in some shallow areas and space, and he's going to make defenders, at least the first defender, miss more often than not. At 162, wide receiver Jack Bech out of TCU by way of LSU. He's 6'2", 215 pounds. So does not have the same height to him as a Jaden Higgins, but a similar game. I don't think it's as refined as Jaden Higgins. As a route runner, I don't think he's as refined, but he is every bit as physical. He has a little bit of a hitch in his release off the line, which you want to see him continue to improve. But he was so productive for TCU this year. I think he can be used in a variety of ways. I think as a power slot, he could be a really cool weapon. But he has physicality, toughness, strength, great hands at the catch point. He has reliable hands, all over the field. I think he has the potential to be a 3-level threat. I also think that he should be a 3rd-round pick, maybe 4th, but certainly in that range. And at 162, he's being valued as 6th-rounder, if my math is correct there. Late 5th or early 6th-rounder. So I think he should be valued much higher. Super productive and impressive. So is his teammate Savion Williams, who is valued a little bit higher. Really freaky athlete Williams is. So that's another guy. If you don't know about him, go check him out as well. And then at 304 on the consensus big board, Minnesota wide receiver Daniel Jackson. This is another one. I think he's fringe day 2, early day 3, and he's been super productive at Minnesota. The hands, I think they're strong after watching a lot of his tape over the last couple years. In 2023, there were some missed opportunities, I thought, with his hands to haul in some easier passes, just some focused type of drops. But I think that was completely cleaned up this year. And 2 out of the last 3 years, you've seen that not be an issue at all. And it's not like it was a massive issue in 2023. It was just something that popped up a little bit. But Daniel Jackson at like 6 foot 195, he plays a little bit more physical than that. Size would suggest. He's very competitive at the catch point in contested situations. This is a guy that I think maybe not any specific trait that is overwhelming. Like, I don't know that he has a defining trait, but he is explosive off the line. I think he has good long speed. I think he has good size and strength. I think he's competitive at the catch point. I think he can run routes at a fairly high level. And he has some route pacing, some route subtlety that can get him open. I view him as probably a move Z or slot receiver or both. But somebody who should have no problem being a third target in a high volume passing offense, potentially a number 2 in a high volume passing offense. So that's some guys. I mean, 304, Daniel, that's incredible that he's so low on the board there. And there's plenty of other undervalued receivers. I think Pat Bryant's a bit undervalued right now out of Illinois. But these are the guys where I look at their game. I think it's very translatable to the NFL. And if they end up in the right spots, they're going to be very productive early on in their careers. And again, I think this is a good wide receiver class. I know a lot of people like to just kind of throw it under the bus, say it's not as good as 2024. Well, yeah, it's not as good as 2024. Sure, we can say that. But overall, compared to, draft history, I think this one stacks up pretty well. I think Luther Burden is going to be awesome. I think if he was in a different situation, he'd be viewed as an easy top 10 pick. Tedero McMillan, I think, is going to be awesome. I think Travis Hunter, if he plays receiver, awesome. And then Emeka Ibuka as well, you can't forget about. This is a guy who moves Z/slot. Yeah, he can do that at an extremely high level. And I think maybe in the second round range is where you have some more question marks, like maybe not a lot of true second rounders that will be available. But I think that these guys we talked about are going to be pretty awesome in the NFL. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.